How do I look? My wife of 10 years, Christy, had finally shed all the baby weight from our firstborn, Samuel. Tonight, she was getting ready for a night out without the baby in tow. I'm Trevor Barnes. Sadly, Christy hadn't made an effort to dress up for me. Instead, I stayed home to babysit while she prepared herself. When she asked for my opinion, she stood there, eager to hear my response. I took a moment to take it in. The dress hugged her newly regained, taut waist and hips, accentuating her healthy postpartum figure. She had decided to breastfeed Samuel, which had caused her breasts to grow larger between feedings. She mentioned enjoying breastfeeding, finding satisfaction in nourishing our child. Yet, how could I truly understand? She hadn't allowed me to touch her since Samuel was born. 3 months had passed, and our son was growing like a weed. But I digress. Looking back at her dress, I noticed how it draped perfectly in all the right spots, both suggestive and intriguing. Since Christy was 7 months pregnant, I'd only experienced manual relief. It wasn't due to any doctor's advice. Christy had determined on her own that sex might harm Samuel. Later, she insisted on a complete recovery after needing 3 stitches from her episiotomy. Now, she looked at me again, her expression expectant. Her makeup was flawless, her hair styled to perfection, and her naturally clear complexion radiated as always. Her blue eyes sparkled with anticipation for the night ahead. Her nails were meticulously painted, but something felt missing. I took a deep breath and began. I think how you look depends on whether you're dressing to attract me or someone else. If you're staying home, I'd prefer your breasts exposed and your skirt short. I don't see any panty lines, so I assume you're either wearing a thong, which you say you despise, or going commando, which you also claim to hate. She hissed but didn't interrupt, knowing I detested it. I held up my hand. Wait, I'm not done. Continuing, I said, if you're out dating girls. I mimicked air quotes, your outfit seems odd. But if it's your old friend Bill Bailey, I paused deliberately. You'd look like someone searching for a good time. I concluded, it's up to you how you interpret my view of your clothing. As expected, her reaction was swift and loud. How dare you suggest I'm dating Bill Bailey? I haven't even seen him in months, she snapped. I'm going out with friends, not looking for good sex. Her tirade lasted a full minute, finishing with a demand. I expect an apology. Her face, though made up, had uneven foundation, revealing tanned patches among the redness caused by anger. She crossed her arms over her chest, her beautiful breasts heaving, and tapped her heels impatiently on the floor. I calmly walked to the bedside table, pulled out a package, and returned to my spot in front of the closed bedroom door, effectively blocking her exit. First, I began, you're not wearing your wedding or engagement ring. Did you forget them in anticipation of a carefree night free from the bounds of marriage and motherhood? She glanced guiltily at her bare left hand, assuming I wouldn't notice. Her blush deepened, whether from guilt or embarrassment, I wasn't sure. Shrugging it off mentally, I opened the bag and handed her printed photos. The images were clear, Christy with Bill Bailey. Lunch together, holding hands, kissing. The final picture? The two of them engaged in unprotected sex. Each photo bore a timestamp, taken within the past month. I guess you thought his pencil didn't interfere with your postpartum recovery, I said dryly. He does seem a bit bigger than me, though. Sarcasm, my forte, rarely failed to irritate her. She scoffed, trying to dismiss the evidence. Those photos are fake. It's not what it looks like. It was just sex. I only love you. Her excuses tumbled out, flipping through a cheater's handbook of cliches. She repeated herself, desperate, until she ran out of breath. I remained silent, refusing to engage. Finally, she collapsed onto the bed. The same bed we hadn't shared for intimacy in 5 months. Tears flowed freely. Any other man might have ended the confrontation there, but Christy was no ordinary woman. Her amateur acting skills made her tears fall on cue. The final straw. I let her cry for a bit, not feeling rushed. However, it seemed she was in a hurry, likely needing to meet her girlfriends soon. Once her sobs began to taper off, I handed her a box of tissues. Why don't we keep going? I know your girlfriends are waiting, I said without quotation marks. My voice carried a chuckle on the word girlfriends, which made her finally look up. Perhaps she wasn't faking it after all. She had to repeat herself several times before I fully registered her words. What now? How do we get to the point where you forgive me and love me again? I wanted to grin wryly but held it back. Instead, I let my shoulders sag slightly. First, go out as planned. I understand you've been in mom mode for too long. It's obvious you don't see me as a lover anymore. So go spend time with your girlfriends, I said, using air quotes again. Christy flinched. Stop it. You know how much that pisses me off. I shrugged visibly. Like I care. Pausing for effect, I allowed her to process what I'd said. She was speechless. This wasn't how I'd ever spoken to her before. As I said, go. Get out of the house for the evening or the night or however long you want. I'll take care of your child while you're gone, I continued. She tried to speak, but I cut her off. When you return, I'll be gone. You've been so self-absorbed lately that you didn't notice I've packed up everything I care to keep. It's all in my new apartment. I tossed a package toward her. Here's a copy of the divorce papers. It's just a courtesy copy. You'll get the official notice tonight. Do you want it served in front of your friends or at Bill's place? Your call. She said nothing, staring at the plain, legal-sized envelope as though it were a venomous snake. Oh well, I added casually. The server will decide when the time comes. By the way, I continued, on Monday, my attorney will be filing a motion to have my name removed from Samuel's birth certificate. The filing includes DNA test results confirming I'm not his father. Whether Bill Bailey is the father or not, I couldn't care less. I had no idea how much my revelations were sinking in, but my part was done. Samuel likely needed a diaper change, and though he wasn't my biological son, I wasn't going to neglect him. He probably needed feeding too, so I figured I'd grab some of Christy's breast milk and start warming a bottle. I left Christy sitting on the bed, still staring at the envelope. Her carefully applied makeup was completely ruined. A shame, really. For those questioning how I could be so cold and unfeeling, let me clarify. I was devastated when I first learned of Christy's betrayal. I cried alone in my chair, unnoticed by her. Depression set in, accompanied by insomnia and loss of appetite. I didn't turn to alcohol, it's not my vice, but I did lose weight. Christy remained oblivious, preoccupied with Bill and Samuel. When I confirmed Samuel wasn't mine, I made peace with it. Despite everything, I decided not to abandon him emotionally, even if I wasn't his father by blood. After that decision, I began eating again and joined a dojo to regain my mental balance and work off frustration. The physical exertion helped me sleep, and for a while things seemed manageable. Then, last week, Christy announced she'd be hosting bachelorette parties, starting with one this Friday. That was my tipping point. Her continued involvement with Bill became too obvious to ignore, and I resolved to confront her for the final time. As I fed Samuel, I couldn't help but think about how I'd disrupted Christy's plans for the evening. A small, satisfied smile crossed my lips. The bedroom was eerily silent. I wasn't sure if she still intended to leave, though I hoped she would. It would give me the chance to finish loading my things into the car. Once Samuel finished his bottle, I burped him, changed his diaper, and put him to bed. With him settled, I made myself a cup of tea, sweetened it with honey, and sat in my chair. I turned on the flat screen, opened YouTube, and let myself unwind with cat videos. They never failed to lift my mood. After about 20 minutes, I heard the garage door to the kitchen close softly. Moments later, the garage motor hummed to life. A few minutes passed, and I realized I was alone with Samuel. I leaned forward briefly before settling back into my chair with a deep sigh. Now I could finalize my exit from Christy's life. As one famous saying goes, it's over except for the screaming. Tomorrow would be a new day, and this time of year it promised to be beautiful.